Hey, listeners, this is Brett
and Crystal
from the Scary Savannah and Beyond podcast. You can find us at www.scarysavannahandbeyond.com.
And you're listening to Love and Murder Podcast.
What happens when a mother's abandonment is topped with fatherly abuse? What would you do if someone close to you killed your parent in cold blood? Anger, murder, and a police department who won't keep you in jail? It's the case of Randy Gay, right now on Love and Murder.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Love and Murder, the weekly true crime podcast discussing relationships gone terribly wrong, where our new motto is...
You're either someone's last love or their first murder.
I am your host, Kai, along with my co-host, the new... I almost said the improved, but it's not improved. We're on the same. I think we're on the same. We're not trying to improve on Shar, because Shar... the illustrious, the great, cannot be improved upon. Okay, I'm done. Anyway, this is our new co-host, Rick. Hey, Rick.
Hey, guys.
And if you are wondering where the hell did Rick come from and why is he here and not Shar, then head on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/love and murder to find out where he came from and his introduction and why he's here. Anyway, our show discusses true crime cases told in the form of a story with mystery, suspense, and just a little bit of humor sprinkled on top, but never at the expense of the victim. I never thought I would have to say that, but apparently I always do. In tonight's episode, we're talking about a guy whose alcohol use prompted malicious murder, and you will not be surprised about the lackluster justice that was served. Or maybe you'll be surprised. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. Subscribe to Love and Murder on Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, or whatever platform you listen to your podcasts on. And while you're there, don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't forget. So we are going to get right on into our show tonight. I know usually we go into a whole blah, blah, blah. New show, new co-host. Let's get to it. Randy William Gay was born on September 1st, 1958 in Garland County, Arkansas. Or, as my daughter, who refuses to say Arkansas, says Arkansas. She says that's how it spells, and that's how she's going to say it.
That is not how words work.
That's what she says. She said it's spelled Arkansas, and she refuses to say Arkansas.
What do her grades look like in English?
Oh, she's like honors English. Her grades are great.
So you'd think she would know better. All right. I'm just curious.
Leave my child alone.
You brought
This
her
will
up.
be your first and last episode. I'm playing. Anyway.
Joke's on you. I've already done a bonus episode.
He has.
And
Go to
it's
our
out.
Patreon. It's really good too. Anyway, his father's name was Glenn Harold Gay, but I couldn't find anything about his mother. Like, they just wiped her out. I don't know. And I guess you'll find out why, but nobody talks about her. So I couldn't find his mother's name anywhere or anything about her. But he also had some sisters. When Randy's mother was pregnant with him, she'd planned on having an abortion, but failed in her attempt. So she actually, you know how people plan on having an abortion and they're like, well, I'm not going to do it. No, she tried to do it. It just didn't take. So because she couldn't get rid of him, she had him. She had the rest of her kids and then just pieced out on them. Like, she just abandoned them.
I kind of want to know how she tried, but I also don't want to know how she tried.
I don't want to know. Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't want to know.
Uh-huh.
So I guess that's kind of a reason why, like, they just wiped her out of their history books. Like, you cannot find anything about her because they're like, she was never there, so why talk about her?
Yeah.
So after their mom left, their father became abusive. Now, this is not an excuse, but I'm wondering if he became abusive because he was angry that his wife left. You know what I'm saying? Not that it's an excuse. I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's when there's a big change like that, or you get abandoned by your wife or a significant loved one, you tend to take it out on whoever's around. So I agree with your assumption there.
Yeah, which is pure trash, but
It is.
a lot of people are trash. Anyway, according to reports from his older sister, Gloria Lindsay, their father tried their best to raise them, but he had anger issues. Again, not an excuse. I think she's trying to give him an excuse because he did stay around and raise them, but as a third party, not an excuse.
No, never.
He was strict and hard on his kids. According to the children, his abuse was both verbal and sometimes even physical, but only towards Randy. He was only physically abusive towards Randy. Now, not only did Randy have to deal with that, but when he was around 6 years old, he was also sexually abused by some older boys. Like, what the hell is going on here? What would make children even think to do that? You know what I'm saying?
There's some sick people out there, and
something had to have happened to them. They had to have been abused themselves because children don't automatically think sex. That's not where their mind is.
I don't know, Kai. Evil doesn't discriminate. You can be an evil adult. You can be an evil child. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but like I said, children don't think sex. Like, that's not in their psyche. So something had to happen to those other boys for them to take it out on him.
It's
you know
usually
what I'm saying?
paid forward, yeah. I agree.
Anyway, Gloria got tired of everything going on in the house and wanted an out. So she got married at 15 and she pieced out on them. Can't really blame her. I can't really blame her. So I think I would just feel bad for leaving my siblings. I would try and find a way to get my siblings out of that house.
Well, for all we know, maybe she did try and they were too scared, or maybe she was a little older than them. I mean, she's only 15, but you never know. She might have tried and failed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying anything bad about her. I was just saying I would have tried to get my siblings too. Anyways, not too long after this, Glenn got remarried, but the relationship wasn't that great. Glenn treated her just like he treated his children. And then it was Randy who would usually try to protect her. Can you imagine that? Not only are you dealing with beatings from your father, now you're trying to protect your stepmom from him and probably get him beat because of that too.
That's a horrible situation for a kid to be in.
It is. I do commend him for trying to protect her, but it is a terrible situation to be in.
Well, we're already kind of seeing what he's coming from for the future events in his life, you know?
Yeah.
At this point, whatever you're going to tell me he did, I'm probably not going to be surprised.
Oh, no, you'll be surprised.
All right, well, we'll see.
When Randy was a teen, he met a girl, which was another teen, named Sherry Buford. And I did have to point out that she was a teen because we do have some people, like in our last episode, that guy, was that a bonus or our last episode? Oh, that was our bonus. In our bonus, which was our last episode that we recorded, that guy married somebody 30 years older than him. So that's why I always like to specify the ages. So he was a teen, she was a teen, and her name was Sherry Buford. And they fell in love and got married. On August 12th, 1978, Randy, Sherry, and Sherry's father, who was 41-year-old James Kelly, were at their house. And then some type of dispute, it's like nobody remembers what really happened, but something happened. Some type of dispute occurred. And so Randy went out to his car. And I know where you think I'm going with this, because any rational person would go out to the car, probably listen to some music or go for a drive or
just straight up leave.
Exactly. So that's where you think I'm going. But he went out to the car, got a shotgun, came back, and shot James in the chest. Just like that. So police were called, and Randy claimed that James had threatened to kill him, so he killed him first in self-defense. And I'm going to tell you, that's not how self-defense works.
No, not at all.
Just because somebody says something doesn't mean you take it a step further and be like, well, he said he was going to break both my legs, so I shot up his penis. Self-defense?
Yeah, and whatever this dispute is, better have been some hardcore stuff, because you don't just take the time to walk outside, grab a shotgun, and come back and still be mad about it, you know?
What? Unless he said, hey, I want to let you know something. I'm going to sneak into your daughter's window tonight. Unless it was something like that, there's no kind of dispute that warrants going out to your car and getting a shotgun. No. Anyways, he was
anger is a strong emotion, but it's even stronger in certain people, I guess.
I guess. He was arrested, and during trial, prosecutors arranged a plea agreement for second-degree murder. Do you see why I did that bonus episode? Ooh. Randy was sentenced to 10 years in prison with 5 years suspended. But you think that's the worst part. No. Get this. He was paroled after only 9 months.
What in the world?
So he shot somebody cold-bloodedly in the chest and got 9 months in jail.
That's a good lawyer right there, let me tell you.
I need to interview that guy, for real. Okay. However, as you can only expect, he violated his parole several times. Not once, not twice, many, many times. He had a charge for battery. He had a charge for DUI. So he was just like, screw it. I'm not in jail. They ain't going to put me in jail. He just did whatever he want. Battery, DUI, and so much more. So they sent him back to prison for, I'm going to ask you this, Rick. How long do you think he went back to prison?
I'm going to say at least several years.
Yeah, you would think that. No, not even close. Okay. He went back for less than a year. Less than a year. Not even a year.
Great googly moogly.
That's hilarious. And truth be told, I almost called you Shar. I am so used to saying Shar. I just had to get that out. By the way, while he was in prison, Sherry visited him, and like anybody who's rational would do, she asked him, "Why did you kill my father?" And he was like, it seemed like the thing to do at the time. And so, of course, she divorced him, like any rational woman would. I would have actually divorced him first and then come and ask him, like, why'd you kill my father?
Yeah, you kill someone close to me and my family. There's no question. I don't care why you did it. Like, I don't want to know why eventually.
I mean, maybe she wanted to know why because that's kind of closure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would want to know why, but that wouldn't be the first thing I try to figure out. The first thing I try to figure out is how can I get away from this person?
Yeah, I thought you said you wouldn't want to know why. That's why.
Well, I said I wouldn't want to know why. I would want to try to get away, but eventually I would wonder and want the closure of how to move forward. So like, I get it. I get it, but that's not how I would do it, you know.
Got you. So when Randy got out of prison, he met a nurse called Janice Cochran. Hello, nurse. Sorry.
Oh my God, it's been so long since I saw Animaniacs. Oh Jesus.
After some time, they got married. On May 4th, 1991, Randy and his wife decided to go camping near the Uchita River in Uchita National Forest. Now, for those wondering, those of you who like national forests, like me, I love parks, national forests, all of that. The Uchita National Forest is around 1.8 million acres of forest and is located in central Arkansas, as my daughter says. I'm just saying it to get on your nerves now. And southeastern Oklahoma.
I'm going to warn you right now. Our fans in Arkansas.
They are unsubscribing.
Yeah, they're going to hate us.
It's not us. I'm telling you, stay. Please, kick your feet up. Drink your apple juice. It's my daughter who says Arkansas. Anyways, while they were camping, Randy's father, Glenn, came on over to go fishing with his son, which, I guess after beating his ass for like his whole childhood, he's like, let's bury the hatchet and go fishing. Anyway, while they were away from the campsite, Janice heard yelling and cursing, as you can expect. Suddenly, Randy came back to the campsite, and I'm just seeing this in my head. He came back to the campsite and started loading his shotgun. Like, uh-oh. But when Janice asked him what was going on, instead of answering her, he just grabbed her arm, threw her in the camping bus that they had came in, and locked her in it. And so, she's probably like banging on the door, like, hey, let me out. And after a while, that's when she heard a gunshot. So, she's probably like sitting like, what's going on? And then she heard the door unlock. And so she opened the door and went outside. and she saw Glenn laying on the ground. So she ran over to him, and she saw that he had one gunshot wound to his head, but he was still alive. He was just moaning. So picture this. He has a shotgun wound to his head, and he's still alive, Rick.
Yeah, you get to a point where you're not dead, but you might as well be. And you probably wish you were at that point.
Dude, I mean, isn't there a point where you get into so much pain that you just go into shock and you don't feel anything? That's what they say anyway.
There's a point where you're in so much pain that you just die. That is the thing.
You die from pain? Really?
Yeah, it's essentially, I don't know the actual term for it, but it's like death by overstimulation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, you can feel too much pain. You can feel too much. A lot of people who die of heart attacks from like being surprised. That's kind of in the same ballpark as that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So being the decent human being that Janice was, she tried to help him, but Randy wouldn't let her help him, and he pulled her away. He then made her help him do something else, like load his father into their boat. And then they rode down the river back to where their regular cars were parked. And then Randy put his father's body back in his father's truck. And then Randy and his wife got into their own car and drove off.
So you mentioned that, despite all the abuse and everything that happened in the past, Randy was still spending time with his father. There's a common occurrence in kids who get abused where, whether it's mentally, verbal, or physical, sometimes the parent will still act like they're close to their kid, as a way to like compensate in the back of their minds. Or it could be that Randy was planning to do this. And
I don't think he was planning. It didn't seem like he planned this out.
Okay.
I don't think so.
If his dad says, "Hey, let's be father and son and go fishing," and then he's like, "Oh yeah, fishing indeed,"
No, this doesn't sound like premeditation, because they started arguing. Then he does what he did. Go get his shotgun and shot the person. Like, this is his MO, it seems. So, I don't know. When they got home, Janice said, quote, "He was real hyper and started drinking more," end quote. So they stayed holed up in their house for about 2 weeks before they went to Glenn's house. When they got there, police were at the house. They were just like waiting. They were probably like camped out just waiting. When they got there, police were there, and they asked if they knew where Glenn was. And then both of them was like, "We haven't seen him in weeks."
Okay, I have to ask, how did the police know that something happened to Glenn?
Maybe somebody called it in. You remember, he got remarried, so his wife was probably there, and she probably realized Glenn hasn't come home.
Oh, right. Okay.
Remember, before they went to the house, they were in their house for 2 weeks.
That's
so
right.
Glenn hadn't come home for 2 weeks. Yeah.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
So his wife probably called and said he's been missing for the last 2 weeks. I need your help finding him. And it probably maybe it was a coincidence that when they got there, the police was there. Maybe they were there collecting evidence or asking the wife, when was the last time. It just was probably a coincidence that they were there at this exact same time that Randy and Janice turned up. But either way, they said no. And then later on, they turned themselves in. So I'm wondering what the turning point was on that. They turned themselves in. Now, initially, Janice told police that she was the one who shot Glenn because he was trying to hurt her. But then later on, she ended up telling the truth. And I have a feeling it was because the cops were like, "Look, we know you didn't do it, but if you're going to take this fall, guess how long you're about to spend in prison." And she was like, "Oh, ooh." So then...
it's like it's like, hey, this Randy guy has a history of shooting people, or she did it and they're made for each other. And
which is
it's
weird.
more than likely that his past, he's got a history.
With his past,
yeah,
with what they know about his father and his relationship. So that's why they probably didn't believe her. And they probably said something like, "Well, I'm going to tell you how much time you're going to get if you really want to take this rap. And so they left her in there to think about it for like 3 hours like they do. And then when they came back, she was like, you know what? Let me tell you the truth.
That's why cold, hard facts are the way to go, because they always get you to the truth.
So then both of them were arrested for murder. But then my question, which they didn't delve into, is she didn't murder him and she helped him under duress. So why was she arrested? Because she lied and didn't come forward to the police?
More than likely.
Again, duress. That's my thing. You know what I'm saying? So I don't understand that whole she was arrested part. So they were tried together, and during the trial, Janice testified that Glenn usually made sexual advances towards her, and this made Randy angry. She also testified that Randy and his dad were, quote, too much alike, where they were both alcoholics and both pushed each other's buttons. As you can imagine, this made their relationship volatile and unstable. Yeah, I think going to shoot your dad in the head with a shotgun is kind of like volatile and unstable.
That's very volatile and unstable. That's an understatement, I think.
Ugh. So Janice was convicted of manslaughter. See, I still don't understand this. Anyway, she was convicted of manslaughter and served 8 months in prison. 8 months for manslaughter? In 1992, Randy was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 20 years in prison. However, he was paroled in 2000 after only serving 8 years.
That's the thing, too, about getting sentenced is they charge you with manslaughter, but, like, Kai, let me ask you, how long do you think someone usually gets for manslaughter?
Manslaughter? I would think manslaughter would be like 10 years, maybe?
Okay, so I wouldn't be surprised if they say we're charging Janice with manslaughter, so she's going to serve X amount of time, but due to the fact that she was under duress, we're only going to make her serve 8 months.
I think she was under duress means that she shouldn't have served. Because she probably thought, like, if I didn't do this, he's going to shoot me in the back. Like, if I start running, he's going to shoot me in the back. Like, clearly, look at how crazy this dude is.
You think that way. I think that way, too. That doesn't mean that the jury and the judge thought the same thing in that courtroom, though.
Yeah, well. So, Randy shot someone in the chest, got 9 months in prison, shot someone in the head, got 8 years in prison. Are we seeing a pattern here? Anyway, soon after this, Janice and Randy divorced. Again, another pattern. Gloria, Randy's sister, if you don't remember, said that she actually didn't blame Randy for killing their father. Quote, of all things I had experienced and seen, I, of all people, can understand how it happened. End quote. Can you imagine that? Of all the things I had experienced and seen, I don't even want to know what happened in that house when they were little.
Oh, they were getting abused left and right, and
I don't. With that statement, I don't even want to know what happened.
Yeah, it opens up your eyes. We thought it was pretty bad before, but when she can understand the murder of her own father, that's a whole nother level right there, Kai.
It's just that first part of her statement that gets me. That just, Anyway, Randy ended up getting married again. This dude is an alcoholic, a crazed murderer, and he's got 3 women so far who said, I will marry you. Wow. Like, they say women don't like good guys, but I mean, I don't think they like this bad of a guy, do they? Like, oh my God.
If there was a lot of reports when Richard Ramirez got caught in the 1970s and he was in jail, he got mail from a lot of women who were quote-unquote his fans, and they were sending him sexy pictures and wanting to get to know him. I think, don't quote me on this, but I think one of them got very close to him too while he was in prison through that method. So there are women out there, they like this stuff, they're attracted to it, or it just finds them. I don't know. I'm never there when it happens.
I can't.
Hopefully.
Can't understand that.
It's something to do with a part of human nature, I guess, but it happens.
If you're going to kill somebody for no reason, then I think you're going to kill me. So no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
But anyways, he got married again, this time to a woman named Deborah Ann Powell. In this relationship, he'd started drinking even more. Now, remember, he's already an alcoholic. He amped that up. I can't even imagine. He would spend money on alcohol instead of using it to pay bills. That's how bad it got. He didn't care if the house or the light was paid for. He would buy his alcohol instead. And then he also amped this up. He started cheating. So he was cheating on her, being a uber alcoholic, and then being violent towards her. So now he's beating her and stuff too. Like, it just, I think after he killed his father, I think something like snapped probably. I don't know.
You said, there's always a pattern.
Yeah. So after some time, this wife divorced him as well. She was like, I did not come to be with a murderer to take this kind of abuse. That is not why I was here. So anyways, after this, his sister Gloria said that Randy's drinking escalated. How much more could you escalate? Did you just stop eating to make room for more alcohol?
If he's not paying bills with the money and he's buying alcohol instead, that's classic addict behavior.
Right. But even after that, it escalated more. That's why I'm saying, how much more could that escalate?
At this point, he's probably in debt because of the alcohol. That's the only way I can see it happening.
You're not understanding. My thing is, how could you fit more alcohol into your body? That's my question.
There's people who do it. I mean, for all we know, maybe he wasn't fitting it all on his body, but he was still giving it the good old college try.
Yes.
I mean...
Anyways, quote, Gloria said, quote, he gave up on a lot of things in life, end quote. So he had just given up. In 2006, Randy met a store owner named John Ward. Wow. John Ward. John felt bad for Randy and started paying him to come and clean his store. Now, he felt bad for Randy because the way Randy looked at that time, he looked like he was just like a homeless bum. So this guy had a soft heart, felt bad, and was like, look, if you come in, clean the store, I'll pay you basically under the table. Just clean the store, sweep the parking lot, and that's it. I'll give you some money. However, Randy's alcoholism problem for John, and after some time, he asked him to stop coming to the store. So in true Randy fashion, this pissed him off. And he started threatening John, saying that, you know, me and my friends gonna come over here and we gonna kill you, John. We gonna kill you dead. So John, I don't know if he knew Randy's background, but John was like, look, I ain't taking this. And he called the cops. So in 2008, Randy was convicted of making terroristic threats and given, oh my God, what does it take with these people? He was convicted of making terroristic threats and given a 12-year suspended sentence. So it's like, why even bother? So why even say I'm going to give you 12 years, but it's suspended? Like, what? He already killed 2 people in cold blood, and he's now threatening to kill a third. So then my question is, did they give him a suspended sentence because they were like, well, it's just threats? I mean, he hasn't killed people before, right? Right? Anybody? Yeah, no. So I don't know.
Yeah,
my thing is,
someone needed to speak up and they didn't.
By this time, they should have just put him in jail. That's what I'm just thinking, and they just didn't.
I agree.
So speaking of being a cold-blooded murderer, on May 10th, 2011, Randy gave a random woman. Now, I searched to see if it was maybe a prostitute or was it the hitchhiker on the side of the road? Was it somebody who needed a ride from the store? I couldn't find that. They just said literally, quote, a random woman. So we just know it's a stranger. 49-year-old Connie Ann Snow, a ride in his truck. They began arguing, and then Randy told her to get out. And Connie was like, no. Which is, with Randy, that's the wrong answer. Which is why you don't get in cars with strangers. So she said no. So Randy was like, all right, F that. I'll get out. So he got out, And then he went to the back of his truck, and you already know what he went and got. His good old shotgun. And then he ordered Connie to get out again. Now, while she was trying to get out of the truck, he just shot her in the face. In her face. And killed her. Like
point blank?
Yes. She was trying to get out of the truck, and he just, bam, with a shotgun in her face. Then he put her body back into his truck and drove to Uchida National Forest and dumped her body there.
That's heinous.
Dude. Now, this is an excerpt from Fox 16 about the case. Quote, you want to read this in your news voice?
According to the witnesses in the affidavit, I can't do that the whole time. According to the witnesses in the affidavit, Gay and a woman had driven up to the wooded area around 6:29 p.m. on Tuesday, May 10th, brackets 2011. The witnesses say they were working on logging equipment at the time when Gay stopped his truck near them. They say a woman got out of the truck and began arguing with Gay. Gay then took a bolt-action long gun, quote-unquote, out of his toolbox and went to the back of his truck and continued arguing with the woman. That is when witnesses say Gay fired his weapon and the woman fell to the ground. The next day, he was arrested and charged with capital murder, end quote.
That is insane. He did that in front of people.
Did he know there were people there?
People. I don't think he cared. He was at a login business. So, I mean, he had to have known. I just don't think he cared. Like when they were fishing, he's out in the open at a camping site. Don't think he cared. I didn't even think about
that. I thought they were there all alone. Wow.
He's at a camping site. It's a possibility that they could have been there alone, but a camping site, I doubt it.
Well, when you say camping site, I imagine like you found a spot and put a campfire down, and that was I didn't think you meant like a community established camping site. But now that you say that, that makes it even crazier now that you're telling me.
It was because remember, it was a community established camping site because remember what they were sleeping in was like a bus/van, whatever, that the camping site provided to them.
Oh,
yeah.
That is what a moron. Oh my!
And then to even get back to their car, they had to jump in the boat and go downriver. So there were people around when he did that. He doesn't care.
Just brilliant. Anyway.
Now, during the trial, prosecutors sought the death sentence. But Randy, in good old Randy form, pled what, Rick?
Not guilty.
Not effing guilty. Can you imagine that? When there were witnesses right there that saw what happened, he was like, nah, I didn't do nothing. It wasn't me.
He was like, that wasn't me. He busted out his Shaggy impersonation. It wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
We caught you on the road. It wasn't me. We caught you with a shotgun. It wasn't me. That's awful.
In 2013, the case resulted in a mistrial because of juror misconduct.
Juror misconduct?
Dude.
What moron decided to come to court that day and mess this up? Is what I'm trying to wonder.
Even if that happened,
right.
My thing is, there are witnesses. There's the body. There was probably a mountain of evidence. Not to mention you did the same thing to two other people. Who gives an F what juror took off their drawers and mooned the whole courthouse? Who cares? Who cares? He's clearly guilty.
Is that actually what happened?
No.
Okay.
But I'm saying, can you imagine? Even if that happened, who cares? He's clearly guilty.
So I have to add, I don't know about you, Kai, but I've been called for jury duty. I didn't have to do it, but I got called in and I had to figure out what the process was. They actually take people and vet them before, they have to make the decision to sentence somebody together. And they're very picky about if they have these 12 people, I think it's 12, if they have these 12 people and one of them has to back out or something happens or their moral compass gets compromised somehow, they now no longer have 12 people. So they're probably intent on wanting to go through the process again of vetting another person and blah, blah, blah. And sometimes they have backup people. Sometimes they don't.
So instead you just mistrial?
That's what it sounds like.
Well, they retried him. So instead of getting a backup jury, they did the whole thing again. So that happened in 2013, the mistrial. So in March 2015, he was retried and then found guilty. So the bullshit of waiting all this time, this is my thing. This is my issue. So during sentencing on Wednesday, March 13, 2015, prosecutor Terry Harris discussed Randy's first two murders, as any rational person would, in her closing arguments before the death sentence, or for the death sentence. She was going for the death sentence. So prosecutor Terry argued that although Randy had gone to prison twice before, he hadn't even tried to grow and become a better person, as we can clearly frickin' see. She also pled to the jury that giving Randy a life sentence would only be, quote, sending him home. So, which is true because he's used to going in jail and coming out and going in jail and coming out. On the other hand, Randy's lawyer, public defender Mark Fraser, told the jury of Randy's childhood and said that he was more than capable of functioning in a controlled environment. I mean, there's been clear evidence of his functioning in a controlled environment, stopping in a login area with a bunch of people there and shooting a woman in the face is only a mistake. I mean, any one of us could have done it, right? Am I right? Anybody? No?
I'm going to tell you right now, if I lived by this Randy guy, I would definitely be locking my doors at night.
I would move. What are you talking about? Locking the doors like that's going to stop
finances.
Have you met his shotgun?
If I had, I wouldn't be here right now.
Well, I'm just saying he would have just shot through your house and gotten to you. I'm moving. Sorry. On the other hand, Randy's lawyer, public defender Mark Fraser, told the jury of Randy's childhood and said that he was more than capable of functioning in a controlled environment. Quote, Glenn Gay got beaten up in court and he was not here to defend himself. Are we supposed to turn a blind eye to a second murder? After talking about the abuse at the hands of his father, prosecutor Terry rebuffed that other children had been treated much worse and didn't turn into murderers. Yeah? Anybody? Anybody knows anybody who has been abused, which is not a good thing to know because I know that's really hard. I do know people who have been abused, and it's really hard for me to even speak to their parents, but I have to be respectful to their parents, but it's just running through my head all the time. But either way, these people actually turned into very well functioning adults, have children, and do not even treat their children badly. So yes, it's possible. So that is not an excuse for this jerk here. Again, I need to talk to a lawyer who represents a guilty person, like somebody real, not trying to just. Ugh. Anyways, listen to our bonus episode in our Patreon, www.patreon.com/loveandmurder, where I talked about lawyers who represented the guilty, but none of this answers any of my questions. So you'll see what I'm talking about if you go into our Patreon. On Tuesday, March 19th, 2015, after only 3 hours of deliberation, the jury recommended the death sentence for Randy. On Wednesday, March 20th, the judge sentenced Randy to death. After sentencing, Randy told the judge, "Take care, judge." And the judge answered, "You too." What?
Wow.
What, are they friends or?
That would explain a lot. Not that we're saying that, but
I'm like, not that we're saying that, but that's weird. Anyways, it's interesting to note that no one has been sentenced to death in Garland County since the 1950s.
Question for you.
Yes.
How much do you think a judge has to distance themselves from the case?
All.
Okay.
I couldn't be a judge. I could not be a judge.
Me neither, but I'm thinking if all judges have to have the same mentality and they have to distance themselves emotionally from the case, it might not be too far-fetched for them to just be like, oh yeah, have a good rest of your life or whatever. That's got to be a challenge. but that makes sense in my head. You get what I'm saying?
I mean, yeah, but maybe he was just sarcastically saying you too. Like there was nothing else to say, so he was like, "You too." I mean, you're in death row, whatever.
It's kind of like
I don't know.
when you say hi, and their response is, "Good, how are you?" It kind of works.
That's so me. That is so me. So anyway, he's currently in prison at Varner Unit for the past 7 years. Hopefully, they don't cut his sentence short this time. I mean, he shot somebody in the chest, 9 months. He shot somebody in the head. What did he do there? What was that? He was supposed to be in there for 20 years, but he got how long?
8 years, right?
I think 8, 9 years, something like that.
I think it was 8.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. No. I hope.
Was it 12 years? Was it he got 12 years that time?
We got to go back up. It was.
So before the terroristic threats.
8 years, yes.
Yeah, he got imprisoned in 1992, and then he was paroled in 2000. 8 years.
And then he threatened to kill somebody, and they threatened to give him 12 years. So that's why I'm like, now he's on death row, but are they going to suspend that as well? Oh, he's been really great in here. I can see how he'll.
Yeah. He hasn't killed anybody in the past X years, so no crap because he's been in prison.
In the past 7 years, he has not pulled out his shotgun and murdered anybody. So
good behavior.
I think we can give him a pass. Yeah, let's get him out. Put him off of death row and send him on his way.
It's tragic too how when a kid gets abused, whether it's physically, verbally, or mentally, it's one of two things is going to happen. That kid is either going to figure out, this is terrible, I don't want to do this to anybody because it makes me feel inferior or makes me feel bad, or I don't like this, or I know this isn't the way to live, and they become better people than their parents because of that, or they just embrace all the pain and the hatred and they just start making that a part of their being, and it's awful. It's people always say pay it forward. That applies to everything, whether it's kindness or evil or intent. That's how you get vicious cycles to appear, and that's how things just keep going and get worse and patterns form.
Also, though, I think you as an adult, you can work on yourself and work to end cycles. You can get counseling. If you don't believe in counselors, you can control yourself, work on yourself. There's so many things that you can do that you can't just say, well, I was abused as a kid. It's just like, okay. So
I had this conversation with a close friend of mine where it's like, in order to change, 3 things have to happen. 1, you have to be willing to accept that something is wrong, that you aren't perfect, that you have issues. 2, you need to admit that what the problem is. And 3, if you don't know what the problem is, you need to take the steps to figure out what it is and admit that you need help with that problem. I talked to somebody, the same friend, and the conclusion he came to as to why he decided to seek help for his problems was he realized it is okay to not be okay and to need help. And Kai, there are some people that just can't do one of those 3 things.
Yeah.
Either they're too far gone, pride, they don't have the support system for it. Something happens where they don't take those steps. And then we get to situations like these.
I mean, I think the main 2, and people might not agree with me, but it's the truth, and a lot of people don't like hearing the truth, is pride and laziness. Because change is not easy.
It's not.
It's very hard to go against your nature, So it's just one of 2 things, I believe. It's not even that when you say too far gone, the only thing that I'll accept is a mental illness. Like, really, you have a mental illness.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's pride or laziness, and that's it.
Yeah,
And I'm
when I say too far gone, I don't mean it as an excuse. I just mean it as a reason. Like, that's an explanation for why the person, that doesn't excuse them for what they did or for not working on themselves. That's just objectively the reason why such a thing happened, you know?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, but I just want to note that while I was researching this, I saw someone's comment saying that the quote random woman that he shot in the face was their aunt, and that she was such a sweet woman, and this person remembers her, and it hurts them that she's gone. So can you imagine that? Oh my God.
No,
So,
I can't.
what do y'all think about this episode? Do you think he was let out of prison early so many times that he basically was just like, I'll get out again? Like, he really didn't think he was going to be sentenced to death. He really thought, they'll either say 20 years suspended, or they gave him 20 years and he'll be out in 1 or something like that. Do you think that's what he was thinking? Or do you think he just really didn't give an F? Like, he just didn't care? Let us know in the comments below. Also, if you want to head on over to our Patreon, I keep mentioning it, www.patreon.com/Love and Murder. We actually have our summer sale still going on, and that will be going on until September 1st, like midnight on September 1st. I don't know if I'm going to do Eastern or Pacific time on that night, but either way, midnight, summer sale's over. Right now, you can get in and get all our bonuses for only $5 a month instead of the normal $10 a month. Our last bonus is a crazy serial killer corner bonus episode. Y'all, oh my God, y'all need to go in our Patreon and listen to that one. When I say crazy, crazy. And Rick and I actually did that episode together, and our next episode that's coming out, which is on Tuesday, is going to be a doozy, and this one is actually going to be reported by Rick, and you do not want to miss it at all. So head on over to our Patreon, www.patreon.com/Love and Murder, and subscribe to our summer sale, which is Much Thanks Secret Tier. You could find the link in the show notes below. It'll take you exactly to that tier. Subscribe, only $5, and you can hear all of our bonuses. Follow us on social media at facebook.com/relationship crime, Instagram at Love Murder Podcast. Join our Facebook fan group by searching Love and Murder fan page in Google or Facebook, or by simply clicking on the link in the show notes below. Find our awesome merch by going to our website, www.murderandlove.com, and clicking on our shop in the menu above. And an easy and free way to help us out is by simply sharing this episode. Share with your mom, share with your first wife, share with your second wife, share with your third wife. Share with the guy who probably hired you at a grocery store. Share. And as we end each episode, remember,
lock your doors at night.
No, that's not how we end our episodes here at Love and Murder.
Oh.
We actually end it by saying it's
all love and no murder.
No murder. All right. Good night. Peace.